Hey guys, it's me, Pokemon. I'm here to talk about how you build a team in Marvel Strike Force, and this is something everybody's going to need to know. There's a lot of teams you got to build in this game, whether that's your hero campaign, your villain campaign, your Nexus campaign, your Cosmic campaign team, your I'm going to destroy everybody team in Arena. When you're building a team, there are two big things you want to be looking at. It's whether or not you're filling all the roles that a team needs, and then on top of that, whether there's synergy within your team. And there's two very easy ways to figure that out, so I'm going to talk about that today. So we have 5 classes in Marvel Strike Force. I'm going to go through all of them real quick, give you an idea of what they do. We have the Blasters, and these are your burst characters. We have your Support, and these can provide buffs for your allies or heal your allies and good stuff like that. We have your Protectors that taunt. We have your Brawlers, and they don't really do anything special. They're just kind of like pretty good DPS, and they're not as squishy as Blasters. You know, they're there. You know, they exist. And we got Controllers, again, the more focus on putting status effects on your enemies. So when you're building a team, the #1 most important thing is pick a tank. You need a tank to tank damage, as the name would imply. You need them to protect your burst characters. You need them to protect your healers. You just need someone you can depend on to just, you know, keep an eye over everybody. You know, it's like a father with a bunch of children. He's just making sure everybody doesn't get hurt. I like Captain America a lot. That's because I got him at a high rank from the starter bundle. I'm also a pretty big fan of Hulk. So those are just 2 characters I've been using. And in terms of the Cosmic campaign, I've been using Drax, and he's great because you can build him up pretty easily from the Battlegrounds. And Hulk isn't too bad to get because you get him from achievements, so you'll get him eventually. And I don't think Captain America, you can farm him out later on if you don't feel like buying the bundle. So they're all pretty easily achievable. Crossbones, I'm not a big fan of, as you guys would know from my villain guide. And Luke Cage, I find very meh. But once you have that team, you can look to fill it in what you feel it needs. Like, say you pick a tank with a little higher DPS. Maybe you don't need to put as many DPS in. Like Hulk, he has pretty high DPS, so maybe you don't necessarily need to put in someone with a lot of DPS. But then there's also things like, let's say I pick, who's a brawler? I believe Thor's a brawler. I guess he actually does classify as a blaster. But what's interesting about him is he can actually tank a good amount of damage. So even though he's in the squishy class, he's not actually that fragile of a character. So there's a lot of things you have to look into the character, see what they're good at, see what they're bad at. But a big thing I've looked at is putting a tank in. And then you want DPS, and then if you feel like it, you can go ahead and throw a support in, but you don't necessarily need one. Here, I'll show you what I mean with my arena team. And this is like my serious team. So you notice I have my tanks in here. I actually throw 2 tanks in. I'm a big fan of the duo tank strategy. Usually when one of their taunts runs off, then someone else can taunt. It allows you to keep taunts off relatively often in order to keep your team safe. And I chose this team because I Captain America and Hulk high up already, and then Black Widow is really good with her speed boost. And then Yondu, he doesn't really have any synergy with him, but he's just a great character right now with the double Ravager Boomer summon. Like, that's going to get nerfed, but it's so great right now. And Thor, I'm putting in because he synergizes well with the Avengers, and I think he has pretty strong skills. And a big reason I picked everybody in this team is my second point, is to look for synergy amongst your team. And I'm not talking about mechanical synergy, because of course that exists within characters, but that's pretty deep if you're building a team. That's pretty intense for this game, and that's a little more intense than I've gotten with this game. But let's scroll over to, do they have Avengers as a category? If we look up to the top, this is kind of hard to look through. Maybe they have a ton of categories here, and you're like, so Avenger. So I'm using Black Widow, and her camouflage tech, it applies speed up to all Shield and Avenger allies, and at certain levels it only applied to Avengers allies, so she works better with more Avenger allies. And if we look at Captain America, I believe it's his passive. So you benefit off of having a lot of Avengers allies, because Captain America on his passive, he gets plus 5% block chance per Avenger ally once I level it up. So that's going to be like 30% if I have 5 Avengers. And I plan to switch out Yondu for Iron Man. For now, I'll keep a Yondu in because he's really good, but he's going to get nerfed eventually. And then I plan to throw Iron Man in. But you guys get what I'm saying here, where you want to start with a tank, I'd say. Make sure you have a tank you can depend on, he can keep your team safe. Then you build around him as you see fit. Maybe you think you need a little more DPS. Well, why don't you throw a DPS in? Maybe you feel like your team's dying too quickly. Maybe you should throw in a healer or another tank. There's a little bit of theory crafting this, a little bit of trial and error, but then another good way to fill out your team is to try to pick people from similar backgrounds in the game, I guess. Like Hydra works well with Hydra, Hand works well with Hand. Like, I think Nobu gives bonus revive chance against Hand allies. So, you know, try to build your teams around that. Try to read into the character's passives. Use the companion app to get an idea for how things work when they level up. Maybe watch a couple of my reviews if you want to. I talk a little bit about it there. But have some fun with building your team. At the end of the day, You're here to have fun. If you want to use Star-Lord, Captain America, well, actually can't use Star-Lord right now, but eventually, one day you'll get to use Star-Lord. But say you wanted to use Spider-Man, Rocket Raccoon, Iron Fist, Captain America, and like AIM Soldier, you know, you do you, man. You build whatever you want, but that's how I've gone about building my team. And I guess I can show you some of my teams throughout the game modes if you want to get an idea of who I'm using. Battlegrounds, it's pretty much the same team as Arena because it's the same concept in the mode. For the hero campaign, let's see who I used to get through this. Now this is pretty outdated because I completed this a while ago. Skip this. I think Punisher was on this team. No, I must have switched out to Quake later on. I did use Punisher for a long time in the mode. He's not a bad character, it's just I found more use out of other characters. So now you can see the villains that I'm using. We go over to here, skip. So I do like Scientist Supreme, but I don't know if they buffed her recently, but where she was when I used her last, she debuffs her team with one of her skills, and then the whole idea is then she buffs them with a skill she uses later on, but the problem is you go a whole round with your team debuff before she can undebuff them. The cons far outweigh the pros with her, at least when I played her last, but they might have buffed her. But this is the villain team, and then if I hop over to Nexus, well, there's not going to be much to show you there because I'm using pretty much the same team as Battlegrounds. So if we skip here, but I might be, this is actually not my normal team. This was a defend mission, so I had to use a tank every turn to block. So that's another good reason to build up a lot of tanks for those defense missions. And then if we go to Cosmic, I'll show you who I'm using there. So we got, skip. This is my Cosmic team as of now. There's nobody I'd really like to build up, nobody I'm really looking for. So this is about as good as it's going to get for now. Ideally, one day I'd lock Rocket Raccoon and I could switch him out for Karath, but I hear there's a Rocket Raccoon event coming down the line, so that'd be great. But this is who I'm working with right now. And in terms of Mystic, we'll have to see what I do there. Who does it show the characters that I have unlocked? So these are the Mystic characters. So I guess I have a good enough team to work with that mode, but you know, we'll have to see how that works out in the future. With that being said, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. I hope this helped with you building a team. I hope it gave you some ideas of who you might want to build. One final tip before I go is try not to use minions. Minions aren't that good. I've heard some good things about the Kree Royal Guard, but that's the only one I'd even consider. The rest of them are garbo, in my opinion. With that being said, what do I know? I'm just a 16-year-old. Signing off, guys.